Okay, 2026 CFP. All right. Um, Hi there. This is Two Legs Better. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back. It's been a few days since the Buckeyes played the last game, and they lost to Miami Hurricanes. And um, I before I get into that game, I want to share with you one number here. That is 1-7. Okay, 1-7. That is one is the number of teams that won after they had a bye. The college team that had a bye and still won the game, which is kind of amazing. Okay, there are so many things I can say. I want to say about the Buckeyes' performance, and it's just a lot of thoughts. But before we get into that, I want to kind of summarize the whole, well, give you my whole impression of the or evaluation, whatever the response to the playoff. Now, I think so far the playoff is great. I just like that. I think it's great. There are still things to work out, but it's generally great. Okay, now you look at that. The first round is like two good games, and two games are like yeah, okay, but I'm okay with that, because when you have 12 teams, is you're gonna make a mistake. Not everybody deserving will be in, like Notre Dame, right? And not everybody in that is going to be a good game. So two of them are not. So two out of two is not necessarily bad. But the second round is really, really great, because it was a good matchup. The only problem is this. Clearly, the day off for college football teams is not as beneficial as it would be for the pros. It's like they take such a long time to adjust, including Ohio State, including Indiana. Indiana, the first two drives were not really clicking, but they came back. So not just came back, they made it a huge way. But anyway, and you look at Texas Tech and Oregon, it's 23-0. It's basically 16-0. But if you look at the game, Texas Tech never really get it going. They never played at any time you feel like they have a rhythm. Almost the same for the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes took the whole first more than one quarter, close to the whole first half. Okay, the Buckeyes, I can, there's nobody to blame, right? Really. Well, of course, if Julian Saint doesn't throw that INT for return for touchdown, then the game may be different. But that's part of the game. It's like well, we'll talk about the game a little bit later, but I want to talk in general about this. So you can see Oregon played one game against the James Madison, and they didn't play well in the second half. And now in this game, they played great against Texas Tech. And of course, you have Miami, and they just want to prove everybody wrong, and they beat the Buckeyes. And then you have Georgia and Ole Miss. And this game is hugely entertaining. It's if you didn't watch it, at least to watch
the dream come true to coach in a college football playoff.
At least to watch the highlights. Even the highlights, I was like, wow, okay. And that's a beautiful game. That's a great game to watch. And look how many big hits Ty Simpson took. A couple of them I was like, wow, it's amazing. He can still stand after that hit. He can get back up. It's just a brilliant game, and this is what I love about college football. College football sometimes is not about. It's about the team. Let's put it simply. It's about the team. There is nothing governs a team like, say, the Ole Miss situation. The Ole Miss situation is basically they are abandoned. They are abandoned by Lane Kiffin, because Lane thought the grass is greener on the other side. And the rest of them, like, what the hell, we don't need you. We have each other. That's just beautiful. And for Miami, Miami is a good team. Is a great team. Okay, but I think the no matter how much you want to generate, I even talk about that. I said, the Buckeyes are disrespected, but because of all the accolades and everything, the disrespect doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel, because most people still pick the Buckeyes to win that game. So it's not like it's the reverse of 2002, the national championship game. In that game, even the Buckeye fans, if they think they are rational, they wouldn't give the Buckeyes a chance. It was really just that. But this game is a little bit reverse on the other side because, like I said, the Buckeyes have 7 first-team All-American, and they have only 3 consensus. Miami has only 3 consensus All-American. But does it really matter? Well, that's the game. Now, so I think the semifinals are going to be great too. You have Oregon against Indiana. You have Ole Miss against Miami. It's going to be great. I'm going to be watching them. Unfortunately, that's without the Buckeyes. So, but anyway, now I want to get back to my Buckeyes. Okay. By the way, I want to show you this ball. This is a Buckeye football. There are signatures on that. Can you tell who these people are, the signatures? Well, all right, okay. I'm going to explain that in the next episode maybe. Who signed my ball? Who signed my ball? Anywho, so now let's talk about that game a little bit. The game, I think the layoff clearly had an effect, but you can't say that to Indiana. Although 7 out of the 8 games, those teams lost, but still you have a way to get back, right? But there were a few things unfortunate for the Buckeyes. For one is that is the injury. They replaced they have a new starter on right guard, and clearly, and he's Gabe Van Sickle, he's a freshman. Clearly, he wasn't ready. He's talented, but he wasn't ready. It's a first year. It's a playoff game. It's an important game. And also Julian Sain, he's been brilliant the whole year, but this is the stage is still, it's just because in that stage, I think he played okay. It's not his best game though. In that stage, one mistake can be fatal. One mistake he made, that's 7 points. Just kind of like in the Indiana game, the Big Ten championship game, and you look at it, the other teams, they all have veteran quarterbacks, and you even have you have Carson Beck. Carson Beck, his career, he's almost like Howard. Will Howard. It's like people don't really believe him. He made plenty of mistakes. People can point to that and say, oh yeah, he sucked in those games. But the thing is, when you have experience, when you experienced everything, now when the lights are on, you learn to focus. It does not always work, but it does help. Because, when you play a game, when you are in a difficult situation, sometimes it doesn't feel like, you don't feel yourself. Information too much and things like that. Internet never forgets, right? I think more than 1 month ago, somebody said, Buckeyes is the least tested. I took offense to that. That I still don't like that person though. I'm not going to mention his name, but he it was a good point, but I still don't agree with the point because it just shows that the Buckeyes have been dominant. It's a different thing. It's different. They're dominant. So it both can be true. It depends on which way you frame it, right? So Buckeyes have not been tested because they have been dominating, and that actually affected the most is on the quarterback. So the quarterback was too comfortable in a way. That's Julian saying he was only sacked in the first 11, no, the first 12 games only 5 times, only sacked 5 times, but in the last 2 games he was sacked 11 times, I think, 6 by Indiana and 5 by Miami. And before the game, I said if the sack can be limited to under 3, then the Buckeyes should roll. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. It was 5. So, and then our left tackle, Austin Saravell, was injured early in the game and couldn't play. That's another big thing. So the offensive line, a lot of people criticize the offensive line, but I think for the offensive line, if you think about last year, sure, there were injuries on the offensive line, right? But those injuries happened before the game. If you still have 1 week to prepare, it's very different. The worst that could happen is the injury at the beginning of the game to your starters. That is the most devastating. You think about 2007, the national championship game between the Buckeyes against the Urban Meyer's Florida Gators. Ted Ginn got run back the kickoff for a touchdown on the first play, then got injured, and that not only it took away the weapon, one of the major weapons, but it changes all your game plan. The game is very different with or without Ted Ginn. With Ted Ginn, it's just it's very different. If you know anything about Ted Ginn, you know how fast he was, and the game would be different. Then the game was miserable. Heisman Trophy winner Troy Smith only threw for like 42 yards, and was sacked multiple times, and he was running for his life, and dropped to the 6th round in the NFL draft, and so there was a huge impact. But part of that is because of the injury and the timing of the injury. Let's say if Teddy was injured, say 1 week before the final, the game plan would be really, really different. On that team, you still have Brian Robisky, Brian Hartline, you have other players, Gonzo. So the team is still okay. It's still a competitive team, but because it was injured in the first play, and then the whole game plan was ruined. And then that makes the team incompetitive at all. So similar things happened in the championship game, and well, not championship, in the game against the last game against Miami. So. Of course, I don't want to take anything away from Miami, though. I mean, it's a good team. It's a great team, and their defensive line was good, very good. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, there are a lot of things we can say, right? You can say, well, the penalty is untimely penalty, and they forced the fumbles, and the fumbles just didn't bounce the way. And this also happens. And last year, when Ryan Day was asked, when did you know that this was your year? And he said, when the fumbles bounced our way. Because in the past, there were so many fumbles that didn't bounce the Ohio State's way, Trust me, I know that. I remember those. And this year, clearly, is the same story, because the fumbles, the luck didn't go the Buckeyes' way. So I think sports or anything in life, not just what I think, based on evidence, based on all the analysis, more than half of what happens in life is by chance. More than half. If you succeed, more than half of that is by chance. And on the football field, is the same. I mean, one bounce of a ball, say if the Miami player, the defender, dropped that interception and didn't return it for a touchdown, see how different the outcome would be, right? Or the referee didn't call that invisible, non-existent holding there against the, in the fourth quarter, in the last drive. Anyway, so but these are, that's kind of part of life, I guess. Now, But there are more issues to this, more long-term issues, because if you think from Ryan Day's perspective, Ryan Day as the head coach, as the CEO of the team, he has decisions to make. If you look at the data, there are like 58% of all the players, all the starters on the last four teams, the four teams that will be competing the next round, more than half of those were transfers. Less than half of them were recruits. More than half of them were transfers. You think about how significant that is. It's like it's a free agency. And Ohio State has a different philosophy, at least so far, and according to Ryan Day. You think about it, last year's team, they won the national championship, and they had transfers, but those were not the majority. But they had significant transfers. They had Caleb Downs and Quinshawn Judkins. Both are starters, not just starters. Significant starters. Like the kind of player that reads your game. I mean, without Caleb Downs, I don't think we won last year. Okay, that's how significant he was. And then there's Will Howard. Will Howard, the kind of leadership and toughness that he provided was crucial as well. So last year on the Buckeye team, I think we have like 4, 5 starters out of 22. That's still less than half, right? But this year, all of the teams have more than half. So that's one. Another one is that for college games, usually age is a significant thing. Everybody is focusing on the 5-star recruits. A 5-star recruits, 17, 18, 19-year-old, they rarely make a significant role. Not many 5-stars are like JJ, Jeremiah Smith. JJ is great. He's been brilliant since he stepped on campus last year. He was brilliant last year. He's brilliant this year. He was brilliant in the 2 games that the Buckeyes lost. They lost the game not because of him. They didn't lose worse because of him. He helped tremendously. You got a hats off for him. JJ really did great. So not many the high school players can be JJ. So that actually, because Ryan, they talk about culture. He said, we want to recruit people who want to be here, and we want to develop them because that builds the culture. Sure, that is, in theory, that's great. That's a great theory. That's like a responsible one, right? You're responsible for the players, for the teams. But you look at the portal. A couple hours after it's opened, more than 2,000 players registered in the portal. It's just it's a reality now. It's like I don't know. It's a supermarket. But I think that's also the same issue for the Buckeyes for the past, say, 10, 15 years, because the average age of the Buckeye team has been pretty young in the past. Last year was exception. Last year, the team was veteran-laden. And this year is extremely young. The majority of the players, the starters, will come back, will return for next year. I think there are only like 2 or 3 players have to leave, and a couple more could leave. So that is 2, 3, no, more than 2, 3. But yeah, but you get my point. Even like Arvel Reese, he might be one of the top 5 draftees in the coming draft, right? So I think he will leave. I'm pretty certain he's going to leave. But even he has 1 year of eligibility left. Okay, and Caleb Downs is going to leave, but he has 1 year eligibility left. So the point is, the Buckeye team has been young. It's youth-led, and that could be because sometimes you don't really need. It's a dilemma. Okay, if you have a top player, they set up for life. Sure, but they need only 3 years basically. But if you have a veteran player, maybe they are not the best. Say, Will Howard. Sure, Will Howard improved his draft stock, maybe probably from undrafted to draft to the fifth round. But he's not a top end talent. He wasn't recruited by Ohio State or Penn State out of high school. So he wasn't like even Julian Sain, not C.J. Stroud, not like those people. But C.J. Stroud, you have him for only 2 years, right? And as great as he has been, he was still young. He really was still young. So, like Howard, you think about it. I commented on his game last year. I think one of the most underrated part of his game was in the championship game, how many first downs he got. He just run for first downs, and he doesn't have to pass brilliantly. He did though. He completed all the first 13 or 16 passes, I think. So that certainly is great. But the more important thing is he got the first down. And that keeps the drive going, keeps the opponent off the field, and that's just those things come with experience, and experience is something you just cannot substitute. It's and then this year Buckeyes has to deal with other issues. Well, but you have issues every year, right? The Buckeyes. You have a team like the Buckeyes. You have coaching changes. You have other things. So you have a lot of things to deal with. So next year, my prospect for next year for the Buckeyes is that they hired a new wide receiver coach and the LSU coach, and he's good. I have confidence in him. I don't think he's Brian Hartline. Okay, I think we will miss Brian Hartline. I just love the guy. I think he has done a great job. But I think the new coach is fine. He's going to get the job done. He should be okay. And now the Buckeyes need a new offensive coordinator, a play caller, kind of a Chip Kelly kind of person. But Chip went to Northwestern, I think. Yeah, Northwestern. So interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. I guess Chicago is better than Columbus. Yeah. So I'm curious to see what Ryan Day does for the coaching hire, and yeah, I mean the loss was disappointing, but it's kind of acceptable to me in a way, I suppose. But partly is because I don't have all those fans throw it in my face like many of my fellow Buckeyes live in the States. I mean, suppose if you live in Florida, you're a Buckeye fan. I can only imagine. It's just I usually laugh at those things. I think I saw a picture of a skinny guy, and somebody says, somebody posted the caption is the Ohio State Buckeyes offensive lineman. That's to me that's funny, but it can also hurt to some, I suppose. But I think if you are a Buckeye fan, if you think about your evaluation before the start of the season, before the start of the season, in my mind, I was thinking, I said, this could be a better team than last year's. It could be the greatest ever at Ohio State. It could be, the key word being could be. And the majority of the regular season, it turned out that way actually, because the defense improved significantly, but the offense was efficient. you have the highest completion percentage, and so. But when you get to the playoff, clearly those things didn't really matter that much. They matter, of course, because it's still a close game. The final score is 24-14, but you know, again, the special teams, right? If Jaden Fielding kicked the field goal, made the field goal, that's a 17-17 game. And if, well, there's so many ifs, so it doesn't really matter. It's at the end of the day. So, but to me, it's not a great year, but it's a successful year. The team beat the team up north, and get to the playoff, and number two team, number two seeds get into the playoff. So it's all good experience. So yeah, next year let's see what the team does. They I think they need some good addition from the portal, and they also need another good coaching hire. But anyway, so that concludes my episode for today, and this is Two Legs Better. And please subscribe and please come back, and I'll talk more in the future.